Good morning, kids. Today we're checking out a brand new video from True Green 7 of turning legendaries into your basic run-of-the-mill Pokemon that you can probably encounter within the first 10 routes. Let's hop in and see these holy Pokemon be downsized.
Hey guys, Ron here, and over the last few months I've been trying out some Fakemon
Little
trends
loud.
that have been gaining traction online, like swapping pre-evolved forms with their final evolutions,
Classic.
making new Pokemon by changing one letter from existing Pokemon, and
Classic.
even fusing every legendary Pokemon together. So naturally I decided to hop on the most requested
Yeah, I didn't really watch that one, but that is some good art still.
trend, which was turning legendary
Excuse me.
Pokemon into regular old Pokemon. It's kind of the opposite of the videos I made where I took regular Pokemon and turned them into legendaries. There are many good examples online of
that's cute.
de-legendaried Pokemon, but a lot of them seem like pre-evolved forms of legendary Pokemon.
Oh, rush
That's
around.
great and all, but I already have a series where I create prevos for legendary Pokemon, so keep in mind that none of these Pokemon here will look super simple and cute. I'm not turning them into babies. They can still look like final
No.
evolutions, even pseudo-legendaries, as long as they are no longer legendary Pokemon, but rather entire species that can be found in the game. I'm going to treat the Fakemon I'm going to make like new Pokemon that have the concept of the original legendaries they're based on, but without the epic lore and complicated godlike designs. So please, if you enjoy,
just a
leave a
mon
like
you
and
can
subscribe if
find
you want to see
anywhere.
more. But today's sponsor isn't complicated at all, while still being absolutely
Oh,
godlike.
hold on. We're going to take a quick cut. And here we go. First up, God himself.
With the most legendary Pokemon of them all. Arceus. It's technically a
Arceus.
mythical, but who cares? The alpha Pokemon is probably the best first example because people already compare it to a normal animal, the llama. Just a llama
Oh,
stuck
I
in a
thought we
fence, they
compared them
say.
to a
We
goat.
can go in different ways, both with the same design, technically. We can give Arceus a mortal form, basically what Arceus looks like when he disguises himself as a humble Pokemon, or we can make an alpaca Pokemon that just so happens to look like Arceus. We can say it's a
Both.
convergent form.
Both.
I'm thinking I'll combine this idea. We're gonna make a Pokemon that was literally made in Arceus' image, but also is a separate species that Arceus sometimes disguises itself as. Basically, a parallel to the Judeo-Christian idea of humanity and its relationship to God. But also a funny little alpaca. Let's go. Just starting out with the proportions of an alpaca, but with dainty, pointy Arceus hooves. Small details like the tail are the same, even the eye is the same, but with larger cheek circles to look like blush. An actual snout will be the
Cute.
biggest change, and flowing hair, or else it would be a literal alpaca. The
Carl,
configuration of
there was a
Arceus'
dead
bangs
human
and
in our
sideburns are
house.
pretty similar to that of an alpaca's. Now it's time to add the fluffy wool, or fibers,
boy.
whatever it's called. It'll still be a very reminiscent of Arceus' body, just
I think
way
you can
more
call it
puffy
wool.
and way less muscular. That's pretty much it. No wheel or gems. I did add a little dangly ball of fur on the sideburn to look like a Peruvian hat. After adding Arceus' colors, I added more animalistic ears instead of Arceus' pointy helmet spikes. It's a pretty mystical looking
like it.
alpaca. I'd say it's an equal to Absol. This is Alpacius, the mortal Pokemon. This Pokemon can be found in mountainous
Nice.
rural settlements. Humans use their fiber to make clothes and blankets. Towns that herd Alpacius tend to be very prosperous and peaceful. It is said that people who wear Alpacius clothes receive good luck and fortune. Alpacius is kind and calm. In battle, they spit at their foes with dangerous
Oh,
pressure.
and look at its stats. Perfect 80s all around. Not bad.
They are able to harness the elements with their spit, throwing flames, shooting water, and even breathing frost. In ancient times, they were worshipped as gods. According to myth, Alpacius is the form Arceus takes when it wants to observe humans closely. This is why Alpacius herders treat them with
Cute.
total respect, on the off chance that they are in the presence of the alpha Pokemon. Its abilities are Fur Coat, Fluffy, and Super Luck, with the same shiny as Arceus. I've been wanting to
doesn't make
design such a
sense.
Pokemon for ages, so it's super cool to see it fully realized.
When
Oop,
migraine
hold on.
strikes,
And we're back.
Let's stay in
From
Sinnoh
the god
and
of all to the
de-legend
god
one of
of
the most
time.
legendary Pokemon in existence, Dialga, the ruler of time. So for a lot of these, I want to keep aspects of the original lore, but make them mundane and very much not mythical creatures. They will have powers that the average Pokemon can access. So something on a less cosmic level would be a Brontosaurus. I mean, it's basically what
Ooh.
Pokemon like Dialga have the body shape of. So what if instead of a time god, we have a super old Pokemon who can tell time? Something as ancient and rare as a Relicanth.
Okay.
A living dinosaur like Tropius, but mixed with the grandfather clock. A wise old skeleton dinosaur. No, but seriously, I want to give it a grandfather clock element. That's a big part of the concept. I'm starting with the body of a dinosaur, very
put a
traditional,
clock in the chest.
simple shapes, since I don't want to make it look legendary.
That's
I
a
then
joke.
started adding simplified versions of Dialga's armor, but was afraid it looked too much like a Tropius at this point, so I immediately added Dialga's long head, but that kind of screwed me over since that made it look too much like an actual Dialga now, so that head will get smaller and smaller by the final design. I guess long head equals legendary.
That will do.
The helmet is kind of modeled after an ancient Greek helmet, since the point of this Pokemon is that it's not modern. It's pretty old. There were many times when I wanted to
Ancient.
add a beard to make it look like a father time, but the point is to not overcomplicate the face, thus making it look legendary. I added a way shorter version of Dialga's head ornaments in the shape of a clock hand. In fact, I noticed that Dialga's patterns were already in the shape of the hands of a clock. Pretty clever.
Really?
I'll add those here and there too.
Never noticed.
Instead of the signature Creation Trio face line that Dialga has, I added two
Ooh,
lines
excuse
above
me.
the lips to make it look super old. Next is the piece of armor plating that flows down the neck, inspired by the pendulum in a grandfather clock. You know, the thing that swings on the bottom in order for the clock to work. Refining it a bit before giving it a way less developed version of Dialga's feet, and the hand-shaped armor on its back. Every detail is basically what Dialga has, but less
Not
fancy.
bad.
I originally put a diamond on its pendulum,
Kind of
and then
cute.
realized that this is no longer the diamond legendary. After giving it Dialga's colors, I was frustrated with how similar it looked to Dialga, so I added lines to the pendulum to make it look like a spine, and decided to lean into the whole
Ooh.
skeleton look. I took out
And
the
you even cracked the head piece a bit.
diamond to make it hollow, and made it this pale purple. It's full-on ghost type now, with a bone motif. Behold, Centuror, the grand Pokemon
I
from
love it.
Century and Roar, a ghost dragon type. Centuror can exist for centuries. They are able to slow down their metabolism for years in order to preserve their body. For millennia, they were
I
believed
actually do like how you did keep the diamond shape, but you made it hollow, while still connecting it to its diamond father. Just love it. Love
to be
it!
halfway dead. They don't respond to most stimuli, but are very punctual. They will eat, sleep, and train at the same time each day. They have perfect internal clocks. In some civilizations, Centuror were responsible for keeping track of seasons and holidays. In battle, they will let out a ghostly roar that sends chills and freezes opponents.
Ooh.
It can crush enemies with one headbutt. It has the abilities Rock Head, Telepathy, and Sheer Force. I
Not
thought a
bad.
similar shiny to Dialga's will work and even fit better on this ghost type. It has access to Roar of
Oh
Time,
yeah,
by
definitely.
the way. I hope you love the allusions to the power to
Wait,
control
you gave it access to Roar of Time? Dude, that's crazy.
time, too. Perhaps it's a descendant of Dialga. Eternatus is, in my opinion, the most
Hold on, folks. Quick pause. And we're back.
mysterious and Lovecraftian of all legendaries. I can't comprehend it, and Game Freak gave us zero backstory to it. Why does it look the way it does? A dragon skeleton. What would it look like with skin? That's what fans have been asking
Ooh.
for years.
Wait, why give
Imagine
it skin?
Eternatus was just a normal Pokemon from a parallel dimension, almost identical to ours, but was completely warped upon traveling through a wormhole. I want to make a poison dragon that looks very traditional looking, something that we're familiar
Okay.
with, as a juxtaposition to Eternatus, which looks completely unlike any Pokemon, and even Ultra Beasts. Keep in mind, this is just one of many potential designs for a non-skeleton Eternatus. Maybe in the future I'll make a more legendary looking one, while now I'm planning to make
I'd
this
like to
one
see
look
that.
more like a pseudo-legendary, or at least less complicated than what I assume an official one would actually look like. The head was very straightforward. I think it's similar to what many of us imagined, but I eventually fell into the classic shrink-wrapping dilemma, where whenever you reconstruct a body around the skeleton, artists tend to make the skin mold perfectly to the bones, when in reality, there's a lot of muscle and fat between the skin and bones, changing
Yeah,
its
that is
appearance
always a lot.
completely. So I made sure to make the body way bulkier than the real Eternatus, very amphibian-inspired. It's a salamander, since they're heavily associated with both dragons and poison. But remember that this isn't what
perfect.
Eternatus looks like. Its proportions are completely different, since it's legendary. I'm making a pseudo-legendary here. That's why I made the eyes way more generic. It'll have claws that mix both reptile and amphibian. Since Eternatus has so many spikes, I added them on the spine. But that was me once again shrink-wrapping the design, so I took them out eventually. I thought the face was too simple
yeah,
and
that-
lacked
that's
any
actually
concept,
okay.
so I made it way more dangerous looking. Originally, I was going to give it wings, but then decided to leave them as is and make them poisonous tendrils that it uses, well, to poison. I eventually added all these spikes and details, but regretted it. It looked too much like an actual dragon, very legendary and complicated. So by the final design, its head is
I can
bigger,
see that.
it's way less spiky and slender, and of course, way lighter than Eternatus, whose dark violet colors are too intimidating for an average Pokemon. This
I
is
could see this.
Lethalaman, the swallowing Pokemon from Lethal and
I could actually see this being encountered in like a swamp area.
Salamander, a poison dragon type. Lethalamen are not to be messed with. They whip around their
Nice.
poisonous tendrils in battle. One minor scratch from their spikes will inject enough poison to incapacitate. When poisoned by Lethalumon, the body begins to swell, increasing in size as it fills with toxins. Lethalumon
Oh
can
God, that
breathe in
sounds
all
painful.
the toxins back into its body if it chooses to spare its opponents. They are not native to our universe. It is believed that Eternatus is the result of one of these Pokemon being violently transported into our world, stripping it of its organs and increasing its power exponentially. It has the ability Poison Touch with the hidden ability Multiscale. I gave it a fun shiny too,
Good
very
lord.
bright to warn others of how dangerous it is. As a pseudo-legendary, I imagine it has pre-evolutions. Remember that I plan on giving Eternatus slightly different lore in the future, so this isn't my final headcanon,
Yes.
just one for this video where I make a non-legendary out of it. I hope you like how I translated Dynamaxing into this Pokemon's power to make you swell.
Yeah, that sounds
the
painful.
all-new
Oh,
Twi-
we'll be right back. And we're back. Oh yes,
As a
it's one of my
colossal
favorites.
lore-filled legendary,
Regigigas.
the creator and leader of the legendary Titans, Regigigas. Dude molded the Regis out of ice, rocks, and magma, and even moved the continents. But what if we took the same concept of a Pokemon that sculpts figures and applied it to something that you could find, anywhere around the Pokemon world?
It's
I want to
level
make a
1.
puppeteer Pokemon, a wooden Pokemon that makes wooden figures that it moves using its power of plant manipulation. It's easy to picture since Regigigas already has a ton of moss on it. Imagine that, but way more greenery,
Shiny.
combined with a Renaissance painter. Let's do it. So imagine a skinny Regigigas. It'll look like a hollow marionette. It has the face of a Regigigas, but the moss surrounds the entire head and curls up to look like an artist's mustache. It's an entire
very,
mustache bush
very
now.
fancy.
It has these leaves on its head to look like the hair of a balding man, with another clump of leaves to look like hair and a beret. Its body is segmented like a wooden puppet. Finalizing the face shape, it's just a shorter version of Regigigas' face, but it also makes it look like it has
Yeah.
a nose. The hands are simpler versions of Regigigas', refining it all and giving it some shrubbery on the feet. It's way smaller than Regigigas, so the individual leaves are more visible. The colors were tough to come up with since I wanted it to be white like Regigigas, but also look brown like wood. In the final design, I settled on white and gold wood. Check out Sculpt Timber, the puppeteer
Not
Pokemon,
bad.
a grass
Oh,
normal
look at
Pokemon.
the shiny. It looks like it's from Autumn.
It's a master artisan. It whittles figures from trees.
Perfect.
Its work is so realistic, it is mistaken for living beings by forest Pokemon. It can control wood remotely, allowing it to puppet its creations. It uses its wooden puppets in battle to attack foes and take hits for it. When it has no puppets left, it battles with its flexible body. It is not the fastest, since its body consists of stiff wood, but its segmented
Sculptembo.
limbs allow it to completely turn body
Love
parts
it.
and even extend them. It can attach fibers into other Pokemon and manipulate them like puppets as well. Sculpt Timber is said to be a distant relative
Oh,
of
like a
Regigigas.
Spider Demon.
It has a new signature ability called Woodworker, which gives priority to grass-type moves. This is perfect considering its speed. I wonder if Sculpt Timber would be more useful in battle than Regigigas, despite not being a legendary anymore. Its
Yeah,
shiny is
maybe.
reminiscent of white birch in autumn. One of my favorite kinds of scenery. Honestly, this is the one I'm most proud of. While it looks a bit like a
Agreed.
Reggie Wood, I have something else in mind for that. In my opinion, it exemplifies the purpose of this video and trend the most. It really is the concept of Regigigas, but far less epic.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Now
I
it's time
still
for
love it.
Necrozma. This will be the one to change
Ah
the
yes, here it is. The final of the episode, Necrozma, the Prism Pokemon.
least. What if Necrozma was just one of the many Pokemon you can find in caves around the region, like a Boldor or Sableye? A little prism dude that takes inspiration from Necrozma's weakened state, like straight up mini Necrozma, less complicated and more humanoid. Okay? You understand? Cool.
Yeah.
Imagine Necrozma but not tortured. Just a prism guy with Necrozma aesthetics.
Just-
Far less spikes and angles. Just a rock kid without any indication that its body is made up of a mangled crystal dragon. It's not an alien anymore, so its configuration is a bit more humanoid. Every single complex shape is now more familiar. Its feet look like boots, its head looks like a hat, and its arms look like gauntlets. I'm taking a bit of cowboy inspiration. Not that on the
little.
nose, though.
I see
picture
it.
him as a wandering rogue. It's Necrozma's colors, but I decided to simplify the refracted light so that its chest is colorful. Say hi to Prismini, the
Man,
Prism
that was
Pokemon,
fast.
a psychic rock type. These Pokemon wander around from cave to cave. When direct light hits Prismini's body, it glows and refracts light, giving away its position. Pokemon like Gabite and Sableye immediately attack. Thankfully, Prismini is able to shoot out lasers of light in every direction. Prismini recharge by
Ooh.
basking in light every morning, but they will go back into hiding when they've filled up on photons. The older the Prismini, the darker its body. They are born completely clear. It has the ability Prism Armor like Necrozma, since it still totally fits. And of course, it can learn Photon Geyser and Prismatic Laser. This guy is super cool. Would be one of my favorite Pokemon if it were real, since it balances out all the extreme traits of Necrozma and gives it a much more
Also, out of this whole video, that's the only one that even sounds like it is a baby form of Necrozma.
likable personality, but I would
You'll love
understand
it.
if you love the mystery and lore of the actual Necrozma more, especially Ultra Necrozma. But please, leave a like and subscribe if you want this to become a series. Check out
Well, folks, that's going to be the end of today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.